Hey guys, this is J.K. Whited from the Baseball Rebellion here to break down Todd, my man Frazier. His home run derby performance the last 2 years has really made me happy, even though last year wasn't all that great, which was why I did not pick him first. Even though he made it pretty far, it's, after what you see 1 year, you have to kind of expect the same thing the next year, but he came through this year again. If you watch the video of the draft, I said that, he wasn't a pick because I didn't think he had the swing in him to do it, just like last year, and I thought that maybe because he was playing in his hometown field that, maybe the hometown spirit could lift him up and pull him through, and sure enough, it did. He was jacked up and had definitely had a little bit more energy about him than anybody else, especially from the right-handed group. And outside of Jock Peterson, he definitely had that intent. He looked like he was trying to hit the ball over the fence every swing and hit it really far. He does some things in his swing here that are really good, and he does some things that are a little bit different that, again, with a young player that you might not want to promote all the time, but overall, his swing was pretty good. And one of the things that I like a lot about him, and you can see the two views here. We're going to snap to a single. This is one of the better views. This is one of my favorite camera angles that they don't really show as many as I like to see. But one of the things that again parents and coaches who may be watching this is just look at the movement. Okay, now we didn't see him in his stance, but you can see how he's forward on that bent knees, opening that front hip, and when he does that, okay, when he really opens up that front hip to begin his rotation, his knee opens and his foot is allowed to open. Something that a lot of people talk about is keeping the front foot closed, and that's just going to grind on that ankle, grind on the knee, grind on the hip, and lead to other injuries, and also really take away a lot of turn radius and power ability. So again, we can't stress it enough. You would never tell a pitcher or any thrower really to land with a closed front foot, so why are we telling our hitters to do it? We're just hurting them and keeping them from their maximum potential. And you can clearly see his foot opening. That might not be open toward the shortstop, but it's allowing to be open. Again, his core rotates open. Again, it all starts and begins here, and then as that rotates open this way towards the foul pole, so will the knee and so will the foot, and that's just a really good position to be in. And as that front heel lands, right, as the front heel's down, here comes the back heel from behind him, and he's going to really pull this back hip, like we talked about, around to the front side, and then he's going to do a really good job of transferring his speed and his body weight at the right time. So his back foot doesn't move as much as Jock. He's a little bit bigger, all right, but he does a great job of understanding when he needed to have that acceleration at the right time on this BP pitch. He catches it out in front. Again, not something that would happen necessarily on the perfect game swing. And he's, from this view, he looks like he's a little bit forward and a little bit straight up and down with his chest. Not something that's going to give you that typical home run derby graceful shot into the air, which he did hit a few, but most of his home runs were lower hit, got out of the ballpark pretty quick, whereas Jock Peterson's and Prince Fielder's were a little bit higher and had a little bit more of that graceful arc. But at the end of the day, what gets the job done in the home run derby gets the job done, and these guys are so freakishly strong and talented that, hey, they can do some stuff like this, and that's, it's okay. But again, a little forward and a little tall with the chest, and then as you can see, he goes to his finish, and then he has this kind of forward lean at the end. And again, that's something that happens after he's turning. Before that, his head is staying behind the ball and he's rotating up through the swing. Now again, this is not as up as and not noticeably up as a guy like Jock Peterson or a guy like Prince Fielder, but it's still up through the zone, and he just kind of comes off to the side a little bit at the end. Again, nothing that I would promote, or not something that I would promote all the time, but he caught it at the right part out in front of the plate here, and it works. So kudos to him. I think what really that I like about him the most is the connection that he has between his foot hitting the ground, his front hip opening, his back hip pulling, and then how that pulls down the back elbow, back shoulder, and then pulls the bat, okay, kind of in that order. And that's something that connection, that sequence of movements is what really, really matters when it gets down to it. It is important to swing up, of course. It is important to have great vision. All these things are important, and vision being one of the most important things outside of everything else that we talk about. But that sequence of movements. Okay, so that 1, hips 2, back shoulder 3, barrel 4. It all happens so fast, and that's why these cameras are fantastic. We can really show you guys these things. And as he, again, heel down, that pulls, he starts to open the hips. That's going to pull the back foot. And as he begins to pull the back hip, this back elbow, back shoulder then starts to come down in this position. And what happens right after that? Here comes the barrel. So he's able to essentially get himself into an excellent barrel throwing, bat throwing position as he rotates through and then releases his energy. It happens so fast, and you know, parents see a lot of things in the naked eye without a lot of video done. And if you're new in video, that's great. And take your son or daughter's video and stack it up to some of these guys, especially a guy like Jock and Fielder, who are, you know, a little bit more of a, I think, a better swing to follow than maybe a Frazier, especially here at the end. But that sequence of movements is still really, really good, and he's able to time it out just right, where everything comes together right at the, you know, right before contact, and really gets the job done here. And then from the other view here is kind of another good view of what I'm talking about. So you can see the hips start to open. Here comes the back hip, pulling the back shoulder and back elbow down into what maybe someone would call the slot, and then here comes the bat behind that. All these things like tumblers and like dominoes, boom, 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 one after the other, have to happen in that order to really maximize the body. And you can really see, again, and again, coaches and parents, if you're listening, you know, let's get that belly open. You know, let's not be afraid of flying open. I mean, look at this guy at contact. I mean, his belt buckle's at the shortstop. His chest is open. I mean, he's swinging up through the ball. And again, it's kind of that forward half finish. But again, look at the balls that he hit compared to Jock's. They weren't that tall, arcing, beautiful ball in the air. It's more of those low line drives, and he figured it out and figured out how to do it in this derby. And man, it definitely worked. His torque and his ability to be in the right sequence at the right time was really good. And that's something I'd like to really take away from his swing. And you know, he's a great player. He's got a great, like I said, great sequence, great rhythm of movements. Not all the time would I say he's in the most ideal, optimal positions, but hey, you know, he's a good athlete, he's talented, and you know, it works for him in this respect. So hats off to him for winning it. And man, I don't know, if he's in it again, I might have to pick him first, but you know, I know who I'd like to pick again, and he'd still be my first pick, young Jock. But Frazier is definitely changing some people's minds, that is for sure.